a red alert.
Hello and welcome to the United Federation of Reddit. I'm Big J76. This podcast is for discussion of news and events centered around Star Trek communities on Reddit. You can find links to these subreddits on the sidebar of r/United Federation. That's reddit.com/r/United Federation. We've got a pretty special episode today. We're going to be talking about the game Star Trek Bridge Crew and about the Bridge Crew Reddit community. We've been doing some game episodes here, a lot of good stuff when it comes to Star Trek role-playing and Star Trek video games. Want to talk first with Kokis. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So first of all, thanks for having us on. This is an absolute joy. So I'm Kokis. I've been playing Bridge Crew for, I guess, about a year and a half at this point. Got involved. I think I found it in a Steam sale and just got hooked immediately. And through that, did a little bit of searching online, saw a couple of fragments of online communities, and clung to the subreddit, the Bridge Crew subreddit, where after posting a couple times and seeing what was going on there, which at the time was admittedly a little bit quiet. I reached out and just said, hey, I love this game. I'm kind of getting into moderating on Reddit. Would it be cool if I hopped in to your ranks? And next thing I knew, I had mod privileges, and just kind of used the subreddit to find people to play. Next thing you know, I'm talking to you guys.
Now, Wormslayer, I think that we would have you to blame for making Kokis a mod, because you're a mod in Bridge Crew, and so is he. So perfect segue there. Tell us about the fateful decision.
Yeah, I started.
And I'm just kidding. I'm sure he's a great guy.
Oh, sure. I started the subreddit when the game was first announced. I've always been, a bit of a sci-fi nerd and a Star Trek fan, and also really into VR. So the idea of a VR game was a bit of a no-brainer. We've got a small but pretty hardcore community going on the subreddit, and I'm pretty busy with non-Reddit stuff these days, so it was great to have Kokis offer to step in and help keep things running smoothly.
I'm sure you really appreciate that help. Dag, let's hear from you.
I'm Dag, lifelong Star Trek fan, enthusiast, minor obsession. I've been playing Bridge Crew for like 3 weeks. Ultra noob, looking forward to it. Happy to be a part of this podcast and this wonderful group of people.
I appreciate that. That's high praise there. And you're new to the game.
New to Bridge Crew, yeah.
New to Bridge Crew. Okay. How do you like it so far?
So far, it's cool. There's some UI issues, but other than that, I'm just, this is a world where I spend a lot of mind space. It's really cool to see that come to a higher level of reality.
And now help me with the next one. It's Hyru. Is that right? Hyru Himolil?
That's how I go with it, yeah.
Okay. See, I got that on the first try. That is not easy to do.
Excellent work. Yeah. So, I actually owned Bridge Crew for the PSVR since we originally acquired it about a year and a half ago, where it sat on the shelf unplayed for a year and 3 months because I was too intimidated to jump in with strangers. Then I discovered the Bridge Crew role-playing community and jumped into that and finally started getting into the game. And now I've been playing for about 3 months and took to it like a fish to water. It's been a lot of fun, and I've started writing guides on how to play different roles and maximize ship potential. And it's got a lot of depth to it. It really sucked me in physically and emotionally, I guess. And then it's here, and then it's now, and then I don't know what happens.
I would really like to get a hold of that guide, because I have been responsible for my fair share of some failures on the bridge. I hate to admit it. So now you brought up that this is probably the big thing when it comes to Bridge Crew, and it is available on the PC and PlayStation 4. There is the VR component. There's also the non-VR. But you brought up a very good point there, is this game really thrusts people into working together, working with strangers. So what was your guys' impression on that, with getting a game that pretty much kind of mandates that you work with strangers and socialize?
I can speak to that for a quick second. So it's a crazy experience if it's the first time that you're doing it. I don't want to speak for everybody, but I from playing with new people, I've gotten that feeling, especially when you're playing with strangers, because basically, do you want me to explain how the matchmaking works? Would that help?
Yes, absolutely.
Sure. So I'll rewind a bit and just, I guess, kind of explain how it all comes together, and you guys are more than welcome to jump in. But basically, you start a bridge crew, and you're presented with a lobby system for matchmaking, because every I guess, should we explain how the game works?
Yeah, let's start with the beginning, just to for anyone that's listening that is not familiar with Bridge Crew. Basically, there is a role playing community that is on Discord that does a lot of Bridge Crew role play. There's also the subreddit r/Bridge Crew, where you can get a lot of info on that. But yes, for our listeners who maybe haven't heard of it, haven't played it, start right at the beginning with the experience with the game.
Sure. So Star Trek Bridge Crew is a video game you can play cross-platform between PC and PSVR. You have the option to play in virtual reality, or as you described, in what some people describe as pancake or flat mode, where you're, in a third-person perspective, or not third-person, excuse me. You're in a first-person perspective, but the environment is not presented to you in 3D. In any case, you can cross-play between those experiences, and every game works out that you assume the role of an officer on the bridge of a Starfleet ship, of various points in the canon timeline. And the crews are made up of 4 people, each one taking a very specific role. There's the captain, the engineer, the helm, and tactical.
At its most basic level, the bridge crew is made up of 4 officers. Your helm officer, who steers the ship and controls its direction, and is in control of when the ship jumps to warp or impulse to get from place to place. You have a tactical officer, which is in charge of all scanning and firing weapons and on which targets they'll be fired upon. An engineer that can optimize specific systems at the cost of other systems. And the captain, who coordinates everybody else and lets us know what our objectives are.
You make it sound so easy. You really do. And that's why I really want to get a hold of this guide that you did. I heard about this guide that you created, and it sounds very, very in depth. Like you've spent a lot of time working on this to be able to help people get acclimated and get acquainted with this, and to not just jump in and feel like they're a fish out of water.
I don't hype it up too much. I built a lot off of existing guides and existing research in order to make the one that I put together. The existing guide is still the one that I would refer everyone to when they're getting started. The guide that I put together adds a little bit of a role-playing slant and continues the theme of attack patterns that we've all seen and heard called out in the show, in order to help the person on ops, specifically on the Enterprise D bridge specifically, optimize their gameplay. So it's a smaller guide than you might think, but it includes a lot of the math behind the how everything is set up, the ways in which you can set up that station in order to get the most out of the vessel, and it also at the end cautions you against some of the pitfalls, because it's just like Dag said, there's still a couple of problems in the game, and you'll need to know how to deal with them. But yeah, that's the guide. I'll definitely be sending you a link.
Good. Thank you. I need it. Now, Dag, you mentioned this earlier to what Hyru was saying in regards to some UI issues. So, want to talk to you about, one, your impression of that piece of it, and also the role playing side that you're involved in.
Well, I mean, the UI thing is just the frustration of trying to get into a multiplayer game, and instead of it starting the multiplayer game, it locks me up at a mic check and won't let me get past that. But I'm reviewing the threads on Reddit to see what solutions other players have found, and I'm seeing if they're going to work.
Oh, I can tell you that one. It happened to me, and it's happened to a few folks. Basically, what you have to do before you start the game, you've got to go into your Windows sound setting and
disable microphone
yes.
Exclusive control of this device thing.
Yeah, like disable any microphone that is not your primary one, because Bridge Crew just it gets tripped up easy on any other input being active. So
yeah, I just did 2 of those things, and I'm restarting the game, hoping that will do the thing.
Right. So tell us about the role play side of Bridge Crew that you're in.
I am going to let Hyru jump on that one.
Absolutely. I have some stuff planned. The role-playing side of Bridge Crew is accessible through the sidebar on the Bridge Crew Reddit. There's a link to our Discord. We had a little bit of minor turbulence in leadership a few weeks ago, but have settled into a new rhythm. The setting is Persephone Terminal, a settlement on a moon around a gas giant that's like within the rings called the Shepherd Moon. And we've already gotten a couple of episodes, as we call them, worth of roleplay threads wrapped up and summarized in there if you want to swing by and take a look and see what we've done. We do a lot of text-based RP on the Discord that fuels Bridge Crew integrated events. When we get to like events in the story that will actually be involving ship battles and ship content that we can reasonably emulate in Bridge Crew, then we get people signed up for these crossover events. And we use the results of a Bridge Crew match in order to determine what's going to happen next in the story. We've just gotten started with those. The first one that we've run was a transport that was carrying an upgrade to the colony, an atmosphere generator, sort of like the big one that they centered everything around in Aliens. That was being carried to the planet that came under attack by pirates, and they needed to be rescued from that. So we ran a defend mission in Discord, in Bridge Crew, where we were going to have the results of that entirely determine whether that atmosphere generator was going to make it to the planet, and whether anytime soon the planet starts to get breathable atmosphere.
So what you do and what you guys have done is you take the text-based role play on your Discord Persephone Terminal, which I've been on. The Persephone Terminal is a lot of fun. It's great. I've been wanting to get more into the role play part, but so many things going on. I just have not been able to dive into that part. But I like chatting there and talking with the folks there. But so you've got the text-based part where you're role playing there, and you lead up to a scenario in which the next step is doing the Bridge Crew mission to tie into that.
That's exactly it. Yeah. The one that's coming up shortly is a fleet of Klingon starships is heading towards the station, which is barely prepared to defend itself. We've got some very exciting Bridge Crew events set up in order to try and put up a frenzied defense against a much superior foe.
I really need to try to get in on that. Honest to God, that sounds.
Don't worry.
Oh yes, absolutely. That sounds good. Well, if you might have heard, we did a test run, myself, Kokus, Dag, and Watney, the other day on Saturday of Bridge Crew, just testing out, doing some things, recording video that we've got for a YouTube channel that I set up for United Federation of Reddit, which will be another avenue to listen to the podcast, and also will be an outlet for videos and things like the Bridge Crew runs or whatever else that we may think of that would be interesting to put on there. And it was a lot of fun. I like playing that game with people. It's fine playing with strangers also, but I think that's why we need your guide, because we got the bridge caught on fire. So that was that was one thing.
Old-fashioned bridge barbecue, as we do.
Yes, a bridge barbecue, and it was a lot of fun. But we all imagined in our heads that we would be these great Starfleet officers if it were real, et cetera, et cetera. But when you get in this game and there's a lot of things going on, you realize I'm not trained for this. you become all thumbs on that part.
Yep, that's where practice comes in. Practice. I've got that guide for the ops station, but we also have a whole bunch of other guides, pretty much everything that we've accumulated. Cocus, were those links all pulled from the Reddit, or are those mostly still conglomerated on Persephone Terminal?
I'd say it's a bit of column A, a bit of column B. I found a lot of the guides, and a lot of the guides that were submitted, we found either through Reddit or the Steam community based around the game. And then, like yourself, other people wrote kind of stuff later game that really got into like super specific things. Jay brings up a really good point that like it's a game that's fun to play with strangers, absolutely. But when you're playing this game with people that especially if you're doing, like, I'll say, playing it as a role-playing game where you have a character and you have rapport, it adds a degree of depth that is not there with random players. That said, like, when you're playing with a group that knows each other and understands how each other plays, and has, shorthand almost, it makes the game more efficient, more fun, allows you to do more things that you're not given the opportunity to do if you're playing with strangers and have to over communicate. So for example, one of the things that Hyru describes in her guide is a set formation of power settings, but it's much more than that. It also, it optimizes the power settings on the ship to do certain things, but that also means that tactical, in the same command, tactical will know kind of what to expect to be doing. The helm will know how much speed they have to work with. It crams a lot of information into a short command, which allows you to spend more time doing and talking about other things while you're on the bridge. Does that make sense?
That does. That makes perfect sense. Yeah. So these guides, this information is on the r/Bridge Crew subreddit. Now, Wormslayer. So I want to move on to you, so you can tell us a little more about the Reddit side of the community, and we're gonna be bouncing around. You know how that is, kind of going back and forth some, but we've gone a little bit here without talking to you, and I know you're in a time zone where you could easily be sleeping right now, and so if anything, this is just a wake check.
Yeah, I'm still here, man.
Tell us about the Reddit side of your community.
Again, it's not a huge community by Reddit standards, but it's still fairly active. Generally, we get a lot of, looking for group kind of posts, new players who've just picked the game up, and they're looking for a crew to hang with.
And now I see it's been a community for a couple of years, and you said that you created it when Bridge Crew was released. There are right now 1,762 subscribers, which really, and you said that's not large by Reddit standards, but the thing is, the format of this, it's not going to be the kind of 10,000, 20,000 subscriber subreddit. I don't think, unless that's something you're going for.
No, I mean, we don't have any kind of goals for hitting numbers of subscribers or anything. I think it does have a lot more potential that isn't being fully explored. Like, as Cocus and Hyrule have been talking about, most of the core community is based around role playing, and a lot of it is by necessity done outside of the game. I think Ubisoft could do a lot to facilitate more gameplay, more role play inside the game. Like, it's very limited in what you can do with it, so as long as you want to do those things that it supports, you're good, but you can't, craft your own missions. There's no real persistent online universe behind it or anything.
Right, and I'm sure there's probably not a lot of actual modding that has to be done.
No, I don't know if anybody's successfully made any mods for it yet.
No, I meant modding the subreddit,
moderating
banning people
subreddits.
and kicking them out. Because it's, after all, it's still Reddit, right?
Yeah, no, we have an extremely cool troll-free kind of environment. Off the top of my head, I don't think we've ever had to ban anybody.
Well, that's good. I think that's certainly a plus. And
yeah, that's pretty good for Reddit.
The people that you encounter playing Bridge Crew are generally pretty, good spirited and open to playing with strangers. For the most part, are willing to get into Star Trek with you while you do it. People break the fourth wall. There's new people who are trying to figure out the controls, but for the most part, when you're playing online, everyone's there to have a good time, and everyone's there kind of for the same reason, which fosters a little, friendlier of an environment than other games that I've played, things like that.
There's camaraderie.
Well, you're working more towards a cooperative goal instead of just a free-for-all. I was going to say like Overwatch, but honestly, to be successful at that, it goes into the same thing. You have more success working with people or people you're familiar with than you do with just a bunch of randoms. And now my son, he's got Bridge Crew. I got it for both of us. There was a Steam sale not too long ago, and the base game plus the next generation DLC altogether was I think like $17 after tax or something like that. And so I pulled the trigger. I had been watching it for a while. I didn't have the equipment to do the VR part. So part of it was I was kind of waiting in the hopes that there'd be a non-VR variant, which there was. And then of course it was putting it on the wish list, waiting for a good sale. So picked it up for the two of us because we're big Star Trek fans. And then he's a huge Star Trek fan. It's a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun playing this, and it was something that we could play together, which was a plus because we played Overwatch together a lot. And there would be times where we'd have that shorthand, and plus we could kind of have the advantage of sitting right next to each other. So it was a lot easier to say, go here, do this, put the shield there, or whatever. And so then in Bridge Crew, it's kind of the same thing. You get that position that you're comfortable with or that you're good with. I can do tactical and helm, not too bad at that. The engineering, that's challenging. The ops is challenging, especially on the Galaxy class ship. If you've got the next gen DLC, I was all thumbs on that. Like I don't even try that. I don't know what's happening there. And then you have the TOS Enterprise, where nothing is labeled. It's all the little buttons.
The unlabeled Jolly Rancher buttons.
It is unlabeled Jolly Rancher buttons, and I have to have the little help thing up like all the time. And I was doing a run with another couple folks from Persephone Terminal. Our captain that night was Prower, and we were on the TOS Enterprise. I could not figure out how to target a ship. I'm looking at this thing. I'm like, and he's like, target this or do that, tactical. And I'm just kind of like, I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to make it look like I didn't know what I was doing. So I was trying to play it off, but I'm sitting here on my side just thinking, holy shit, this blue Jolly Rancher button and then that red one, how do you fire the torpedoes? So yeah, it was a disaster in that.
The original Enterprise is a challenge to play in general.
It's definitely hard mode.
Yeah, but especially if you're doing it not on VR, and this is like my biggest. So I played not non-VR for I think I had like 100 some hours in Steam, and then I picked it up for PSVR because I couldn't help myself. But when you're playing the original Enterprise and you're playing it in non-VR mode, you're not able to both man your station and look at the radar simultaneously because of the angle that it's at. Because they intend for you to have the headset on, look down and to the right or down and to the left at the center console shared between tactical and helm, and then manage your station, which again is not labeled in any way or makes any sense whatsoever.
So basically, they were doing it like they did in the original series, where you'd see Sulu or Chekhov leaning down to look at the thing, and I think that was my problem. Was I don't have the VR, so I couldn't see.
Yeah, well, it was designed as a VR game originally, like entirely for VR, and then they added the Pancake support afterwards. So, yeah, there's bound to be a few weird things like that.
I will say that when the Pancake mode, and that's, I think I got it as soon as that was like standardized. It brought a lot of people. I feel like the game, because when you're not playing with folks,
I'm not arguing it was a bad idea or anything.
Oh,
but,
no, of course. I was going to say when you're not playing with people and you are looking for random matchmaking, I feel like there are times where there are like bursts of activity, usually when the game is on sale, admittedly, and from those waves of people trying the game, not everyone sticks around and keeps playing, but I feel like in the last couple waves of it, the regular group of people you see in public matches has been consistent, has been engaging, has been, willing to play and willing to share and to learn. So that's been kind of cool to see.
It really is, because when I'm at my computer, playing my game, and I might be playing Monster Hunter World, which I've been stuck on, got addicted to, and my son's been playing a lot of Bridge Crew, and it's fun listening to him playing, because he's good. I mean, he's 13 and he's better than I am at this game. He's done the all the stations, and I did a run with him one night, and it's like he was doing better than I was, and I'm just thinking, have we come to that point where I am now the old man trying to play video games and being outdone by a kid? And it's like, but I have to get more practice. I haven't played it a whole lot, and I think that was part of it, was not so much being turned off by the randoms. It's just that it feels better. It's more of a successful thing when you're playing with people, and it was funny. There was one night we were playing. He looks over at me, and he covers up his microphone so the rest of the crew didn't hear it. But he said, "Do you know what you're doing?" And I said,
"Oh my God!"
I couldn't believe it. I was like,
"How do you recover from that?"
Yes, and then there was another night. He was at his mom's. He was not at my house that night, but we were playing, because he's got a computer. We were playing online, and his sister, my oldest daughter, was sitting down there in the basement. She's playing her games, and she said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm playing this video game with your brother." And she said, "Oh, well, tell him I said hi." And we're sitting in the lobby in the game, where you're sitting around the conference room table getting ready, and we had a full group there. It was me and him and two random people, and I just, without thinking, I just said, I said his name I said his real name, and I said, "Your sister says hi." And so a few seconds later, I got a text message from him, and he said, "When we're playing this game, I'm your captain." And I was like, "Whoa!" I said, "Okay, I mean, you're right." It's complete breach of protocol, but I'm just like, I had to grab my chest. I said, "Are you serious here?" I'm your commanding officer, and please don't say stuff like that when we're playing. So, I didn't know. I was speechless. So it was yes, sir, yes, captain, and all that, but.
Star Trek roleplay is serious business.
It is. Yeah. He really gets into it, and it's like, when we're doing this, we need to be like but that's on me, because that's how I trained him. When we first got the game, I told him, when you're playing this, and you're following your orders, you need to listen to your captain you can make recommendations, but you've got to follow those orders and this and that. So really, I did it to myself.
That's the best kind of bridge crew story I could ask for.
Oh, you know, if you have kids, there is nothing better than getting them into your hobbies and then having them be better at it than you are. That can be pretty humbling. Oh, and don't embarrass your kid by saying something like that around a bunch of strangers.
Right.
You will get a text message.
Well, so we've had times where it'll be a slower night, and it's crews of 4, and we'll have 3 people that we know, and we're sitting around and waiting, and decide to open it up to a 4th and get someone random, someone public. But the 3 of us will not break character and just hope that they go with it, and it's created some interesting results, some funny situations. But you'd be surprised at how many people just hop right in as if of course we're role playing, of course we're taking this seriously. I don't know, I just love this game.
And I like to take it seriously because for me, why not? You put yourself in the part of being an actual Starfleet officer on the bridge. And sure, it depends on how serious your group is, I guess.
Right,
some are probably super serious, do not break the character or immersion. Some are probably a little more, half and half.
I feel like a big part of that is just, especially if you get in with the VR element, then it just becomes second nature. It's a part of how good of a job they did rendering these bridges. The Aegis is beautiful and it's lovely to see it, but when you first sit in one of those chairs on the bridge of the Enterprise D and everything's exactly like you saw every time Picard was there, then there's a magical feeling that's really hard to define. I feel like that's what really locks a bunch of people in. That's when people get serious about it.
It's pretty awesome.
You're making me wish I had the VR part of it.
Oh, dude, you've got to try it in VR.
You should, yeah. On the Enterprise D, if you look down to the left or right next to your station, that carpet looks like you could take a nap on it. It is beautiful.
Wow, that's pretty good. Now see, I don't have a budget this year for computers and IT stuff. I did that last year, so this year it's all the stuff that my wife wanted to get to fix up the house and all these other things. So I might have to put that on my wish list, or slide something in on the Amazon cart and hope she's not looking.
I'll say I definitely got my money's worth playing it in in standard, in non-VR, and all put a ton of time in and still went for VR when I got the chance. It's still a good game, it's still worth playing, it's still a good experience. And to tie this back to Reddit, I feel like that's the number one most frequently asked question is this game still active? Is it in VR?
And I was looking at that, and it looks like that is, and that's, I think, part of the responsibility. Well, I don't know if responsibility is the right word, but I'm sure Wormslayer, you may not have known this going into it, but there's just this thing where if you're going to be the subreddit based on a certain game, it's kind of like, oh, wow, I've created the subreddit, but it's actually the place where people are going and looking for and searching there. So when you created that, how much of that thought, that planning went into that? Was it just I want to be the first one to create the game subreddit, or it was something that was thought and planned out?
Yeah, it was pretty much a premeditated thing. As I said earlier, I've been into VR since the 90s, really, but obviously it's only recently it's been a thing that you and I can afford to buy and actually use and so on. So I started up the Oculus subreddit when that first hit Kickstarter, and so I've been, watching all the VR games as they go into production and get announced and stuff. And as soon as Bridge Crew was announced, I knew that we had to have a separate subreddit just dedicated to that for, finding groups and discussing gameplay strategies and what have you.
What is the top advice that you give to Redditors or anyone who's coming to your subreddit looking for information? Or maybe not that you give directly, but what are some of the common things that are asked and answered there?
Well, like Coca said, probably the top question is people coming here and going, is this game still a thing? Do people still play it? Is it worth me trying to jump in here? And yeah, obviously the answer is yes. And I think looking at the subreddit, you might get the impression that the game is a bit more of a ghost town than it really is, because the Reddit is it's more of a sort of, you know, a starting point, and then people, they hit up the Discord and they spend, you know, a lot of quality time in there actually discussing the game and role playing and so on.
And you raise a very interesting point, and it's just the fact that it's a starting point to come and get information, and you're not dealing in some of the Reddit friendly content. Maybe not Reddit friendly, but the content that's going to bring in a lot of subscribers, which is it's not a meme subreddit, it's not a GIF subreddit, and I mean, you don't have any nudes. If you had that, you'd have the numbers, but
Well,
you know, that's a whole different thing.
Me up there, that would be the end of it, I think.
It would just go off the rails.
Yeah. The Reddit admins would shut it down.
That too. I want to just speak to something Wormslayer just brought up, which is that it's, you know, that the game itself is not a ghost town, and I totally agree. And part of that is that you have, I don't know, quite a bit of different people playing at different times. It's like an international audience, I guess.
Good point.
And I'll, you know, maybe it's me with the super American perspective, but there's nothing more exciting than having 4 different accents on a bridge, communicating, working together, and like, I don't know, it feels very Starfleet.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's the Starfleet experience.
It captures that international vibe that Roddenberry always, you know, projected.
Now, okay, so Hiru, what's your favorite accent? What is the treat for you to hear on the bridge?
Oh gosh, I gotta say, Fox's really nice proper English accent. He's one of the captains that we play with all the time.
Yeah, I hope he's going to be listening to this, because I told him I definitely need to get you either on a podcast or record one of our runs, because he's got a voice for this kind of thing.
He really does. It's him and Singh when they get going back and forth, and it's just delightful.
And I got to tell you, that's and you're right, Kokus. Hearing the different accents, the international piece of it, that's what really helps you feel like you're more immersed in it, and that it's really something that is Starfleet. Now, let me ask you this, and I'm going to start with Dag on this one. I'm sure everyone's got their favorite station or their favorite ship. I know for me personally, I like the Aegis. It just seems like I know where things are, know how to work it. For positions, tactical or helm, I've tried being the captain, but I feel that there are certainly better captains out there, and it's a whole different world when you're sitting in that center seat. Dag, what would you say is your preferred or your favorite position on the bridge?
Right now, I'm digging the engineering station on the Aegis. I don't know if you ever heard of a game called Artemis, but it was a lot like Bridge Crew, in the sense everybody had to bring their own laptop over, and the view screen was a giant TV that we had somehow. But everybody had their own station. And I found very quickly that as much as I like the role of captain, if I don't know what the user interface is like at the other stations, it's hard to ask for things from the other stations. And I found in that game, engineering is really hard to master, because if you do the job well, nobody knows. You know, when the captain's in the center seat and he's saying, you know, shields up, the engineer has to listen and direct power to shields. All the tactical person does is push the shields button. And when, things are getting hairy, the engineer has to be able to redirect energy from other systems to support other systems. And a lot of that is just really keying in to what the captain is asking of the tactical person or the helm person to make sure that there's power to engines when we go to warp. And a lot of that can be inferred without having to directly ask a good engineer. But in the meantime, if you're a captain, and I feel the captain is also sort of a mentor role, if you understand the interface really well, then if you have a new engineer or suggestions and you're at helm and there's a battle situation, and the engineer yells out, shields are down, you can yell redirect power to, from phasers or from warp power. And that gives sort of the engineer a bit of mentoring on what they're capable of doing. But that also requires the captain to know how that interface works and be able to ask very specifically for what they want.
That's something that I've always noticed. Yeah, I've always said that a good captain is in many ways playing every station on the bridge at once.
So, Hyrule, what would you recommend would be the station to start off with if you're new to the game? For anyone who's listening to this and thinking, I really need to jump on this, whether it's VR or not VR, and they get into the kind of what can be an intimidating situation of, one, being with strangers who have different levels of experience, but two, not knowing the ship. What would you say would be a good position to get into to get your feet wet with?
A good recommended starter position, I would definitely say, is helm. It is functionally the same on all three available ships. You steer the vessel, determine your speed, and get to push the big red warp button. Everybody loves to do that. And just the intuitiveness compared to the others really makes it the best starter position.
I have to agree. I I like that one, and it was amazing to me just how interconnected and tied in everything was, because the captain could tell me, let's say I'm at the helm, he could tell me set a course for such and such destination. I can get us angled up to where we're ready, but if the engineer didn't charge the warp coils, or if he charged the warp coils and I'm fumbling around on the map trying to figure out could get the ship turned for that, and I don't get us in position soon enough, why I lose the charge, so now we've got to charge the warp coils again. There have been times where I've been at that tactical station, and this happened to us a couple weeks ago. I was doing a run with Prower, who you mentioned just a little bit ago, and one of my podcast co-hosts, Yasman, and one of the ones that we were doing was the Enterprise D. And Prower, great captain, was trying to get us through. I was on the tactical station, and we were running from the Borg. It was that Borg mission, and so we're running from the Borg. I think Romulans were on us too. The shields were up, but they had no power. There was damage, bridge on fire. So we're calling for repairs, and I'm saying out, I have no power to the phasers. I'm out of range, and there was this long pause. Yasman was working the operation station. There's this long pause, and he just says, "How do you repair this damn ship?" I thought it was hilarious, because he's sitting there. He's like, I can't. What do you click here? What do you put here and do? And you're right. If you don't know the station, you're pretty much toast.
Yep, that's really the way, especially on the Enterprise D. It's very, very ops is what the engineering station is called when you're on the Enterprise D bridge, and it's very, very different from the Aegis. There's no rerouting there. That's sort of simple to understand. It's just sort of like the same as moving the power blocks from one to the other. It's moving one power from one system to another. It's just you have the option to burn it out if you move too much to one system. On the Enterprise D, I feel like it's it makes a lot more sense as a conceit that you're sending crew to different subsystems to make those subsystems better. But the extra layer of complexity, since there's 10 different subsystems, is it 10? I think it's 10 that you can send these 5 different crew to, that it just makes it a huge challenge.
It does sound challenging. I think I tried operations once and didn't stick with it. I'm usually going to do tactical or helm because I just feel that it's the station that I got used to, and it's to the point now where I can't even play solo because there's too much going on, and I'm not sure. Now, is it me, or does it seem like when playing solo you have to literally micromanage everything? Like there's no shorthand. The bridge AI, they just kind of sit there until you give them the orders, which you're hopping around a lot.
No, that's absolutely true. I mean, they're responsive. They're not proactive. But just, it's AI. No offense to any. But yeah. And when you're playing with real people, there's what's the word? There's context. There's you can describe shoot the one on the left, not the one on the right, as opposed to shoot enemy, with this name and this identifier. You can be a little more casual or blunt.
Yeah, well, I like as captain, if you need to, and this happens in Star Trek, you just yell out, "Get us out of here." Well, the helm needs to just know that just means initiate the "get us the hell out of here" maneuver, and not have to be told what course to make, or et cetera, or just open fire at will, somebody fire, the kind of thing.
Imagine having a bridge crew team that is that well honed, where the person playing the captain can say, "Get us out of here," and the person at the helm can just imagine, okay, out of here means in the opposite direction, and just do that.
Right. Out of here just means get away from where we're at.
This is one of the reasons I usually play captain, because I'm terrible at everything. So I can just rely on everybody else to be brilliant at their role and take my vague, half-baked orders and do something with them.
Engineer, bring me a sandwich.
Exactly.
My most amazing moment of that variety was the other day. I was playing with Fox at the captain's chair. I was in ops on the Enterprise D, where I wish to remain, and the captain apparently gets some secret cues that not everybody else gets. There's a noise that whistles in the back of their ear if a cloaked ship is nearby. And we had just been discussing how the captain's prerogative, captain's orders, everybody needs to do whatever the captain says, no matter what. And he just out of nowhere says red alert. And so I immediately shift all the crew into battle stations. I've got a whole thing set up that we've organized in advance, and a cloaked ship appears out of nowhere, and already the shields are at maximum strength. And the tactical already had them targeted. It was an amazing moment of everybody just trusting the captain, even though we were just a moment ago joking around. Everybody was just on point. It was delightful.
That's pretty crazy.
Well, and yeah, that's a plus when you've got that communication and you can do that. But there's also a little bit of that, I guess, common sense. And this is funny. You guys will like this. So. And Cocos, Dag, you were there when we were doing our run Saturday of Bridge Crew. So we were in a battle, a bunch of other things are happening. We were on the Aegis. I lowered the shields in order to transport some people off of something, and then we got into a scenario where we had to clear some mines. So okay, yeah, no problem. Target this mine. Fired a torpedo, and we ended up getting all kinds of damage. I think this was when we caught the bridge on fire, and she said, well, no, and Dag said, we took a lot of damage on that one, and I forgot to raise the shields, so I'm just kind of like, whoops. So I turned the shields on, and she was like, "You didn't have the shields up, did you?" And I said, "Well, you didn't tell me to raise them." And she said, "Well, I shouldn't have to." So I lost that one. And that's right. I mean, I should have known to have the shields up before firing a torpedo at a mine.
It's those little things you pick up over time.
Yeah, and there was a proximity thing too. We were a lot closer to that explosion than the safety perimeter is in the game. You have to be 20 kilometers away from a detonating photon torpedo to be undamaged, according to the game.
And there's like lots of little details like that Dag just mentioned that when you play with a regular group and you've told each other that a million times and it clicks, you get kind of I don't know, you get into a rhythm with a group, and that's a lot of fun to experience.
So I probably won't make that mistake another time, next time, with forgetting to. Well, I forgot to drop the shields of transport. You know, we're trying to figure out, okay, why aren't we beaming them up? And just kind of sitting there whistling, and I realized, oh crap, I didn't lower the shields. And I know better. It's just you get into when you're sitting in that chair and you're doing it. I don't know. I'm usually not one to get nervous, but I just felt like, what am I doing? You know, I know how to work a tactical station and do this, but it's funny when you get into that, you kind of just some of the little things you forget, which which you shouldn't. But when you have a good captain, that certainly helps. And some of these captains I've played with are amazing. I mean, there was one that got us through. We beat the Kobayashi Maru scenario.
That's a no-win scenario.
Yeah, there are various ways to air quotes beat it.
Did they download a patch written by one JT Kirk?
I don't like to lose.
Just a segue, but I bought all 10 of the original Star Trek movies off of Google Play, and I'm so happy.
Well, that's a good buy.
Yeah, the bundle's only like $60.
You got to let us know when you're going to be streaming those next. I want to be in.
Stay tuned.
Now, so you watch some Star Trek before you play Bridge Crew to get your mind right, to get you in that just ready to go.
I'm always
Absolutely.
ready to go.
I was just going to say, isn't everybody just constantly watching Star Trek reruns?
That's why you have two monitors.
If I could meme how ready I am for Star Trek, just imagine Tom Paris with his hand forever hovering over the engage warp button.
There you go.
Yeah, well, I think for us, Star Trek is probably something that's always on our mind, or something that we're living and breathing just about every day. But you're right, jumping into these scenarios and playing this game, it doesn't take a lot of prep work to do.
I think for the immersion factor, and it definitely like scratches a huge Star Trek itch for me, is like the game's ability to play the right music at the right time.
I like the music.
It ties everything together. There's nothing more thrilling. This is me speaking for everybody, so I apologize. But to me, especially as a helmsman, there's nothing more thrilling than like a last minute escape. When the red alert's blaring and you're just waiting for the coils to charge, and like you just make it out in time. I don't know.
I couldn't agree more. That's one of the things that I like often overlook when I'm talking about games, but the sound design in this game is immaculate.
Yeah, that's part of it. I love the sounds. The sounds are great. The red alert, the other AI bridge crew, even when you're with a group of 4, you still have kind of that ambient talking and things like that. So sometimes it can be distracting, but
they do deliver information that's crucial at certain times too.
Sometimes they do. Yeah.
That gets us every time we're on like
They're not entirely useless.
Yeah. That gets us every time we're on a regular crew and one of them says something like, "Oh, we found some duotronic anomalies off the starboard sensors," and everybody just starts vamping off loud. I'm like, "Oh, thank you, Ensign." I'll make sure to note that in the logs, Ensign.
Right, yeah, that's good to know right now when I've got Klingons up my ass.
It's bad when you have names for all of the NPCs. It's a rotating cast.
Are any of them named Guy or crewman number 6?
Not on the active roster.
No, they're all Ensign Jim, Ensign Pam, and Ensign Dwight.
Oh, that's great. I like it.
there's an achievement you get that happens if your ship takes enough damage, where one of the bridge engines dies on the bridge, and they transport them to sickbay shortly afterwards. And it's always traumatic when you pull that one off.
You know what I really, really liked about Bridge Crew? It was this little moment here, just pretty much encapsulates the full Star Trek experience. So it was that night we were on the TOS Enterprise, and everything's blowing up. Well, I was at the tactical station, and to my right, some poor red shirt gets flipped over the railing on an explosion, and did I see that? Did anyone see that? The guy got blown off the station, and it's like laying right there next to me. That right there, that's Star Trek, and the fact that game had that moment, I wish I would have been recording it, because it was awesome.
There's a ton of YouTube footage of people playing it for the first time, and just like having those little moments where
losing their shit.
Losing their shit, exactly. And I don't know. It's at the point where I've played the game enough that like I'm comfortable in it, but I still have those moments where it's like, God damn, this is just so much fun.
Well, you can certainly get lost in it, that's for sure.
And there's room to criticize the matchmaking. I certainly criticize it enough.
Oh yeah.
But there is something nice about hanging out in the lobby while you're waiting for people to hop on, where you get to communicate with the other people beforehand, and you get to introduce yourself, or if you know everyone already, you can shoot the shit, talk about strategy, whatever. Like, there's a forced socialization step to playing the game. And as frustrating as it can be waiting, like, some of the best Star Trek conversations I've ever had have been at the waiting room lobby, what we jokingly call a 10 backward.
That's definitely something that we should bring up. In order to actually like add friends, if you want to get a regular group of your pals going, in order to enable the crossplay between consoles that's available through Bridge Crew, you need to use Ubisoft's Uplay system and add your friends through that. And it's just an absolute mess. There's no way to actually add or accept friend requests. Or you can issue friend requests to people that are currently in game with you on consoles, but you cannot accept friend requests. And I think maybe unless they're also in game with you at the time, you can't like you can look at your friends list, but invitations don't show up. You have to use like a mobile app in order to handle the friend requests and stuff, unless you're doing it on a desktop PC. It's just all a huge mess. It takes a lot of time to get used to, and it tends to bug out fairly often when you're trying to actually send requests to friends and stuff.
And for new players, it's an extra pain because they don't know if it's them or if it's the system.
Right, exactly.
For a game that is, and it's a love-hate things often because of it, but for a game that's so based in socializing, the socializing UI, the socializing mechanics are very clunky, and there's a laundry list of things that I'm sure we all want to see in this game if there's ever another update. Whenever there's another update,
Cough, cough, PvP, cough, cough.
Just give us the Voyager anyway. What was I going to say? Or the Defiant, whatever. Or Romulans, or Andorans, whatever.
Please, give us the Defiant.
No Klingon Bird of Prey?
Yes, there you go.
If there was some update to matchmaking, I feel like that's the piece to really bring a lot of people in and keep them in. Because it's, I don't know, it's frustrating. It's game breaking when the matchmaking stuff kind of bugs out.
Well, what is it about the matchmaking that you don't like? It sounds, is it a UI thing, or is it just the people that you're susceptible to get? Could you tell me?
Oh, it's from my experience, it's 95% UI. It's just a clunky experience trying to group up and add friends. There's things you just have to kind of intuit, like if I have the DLC enabled and you don't, we're not able to match together, things like that, that you have to just learn after trying so many times. There have been, something else we often do is if we'll have 2 or 3 people, and if we have a 4th come in and we're unable to friend them, we'll open the game up publicly, the lobby up publicly, and just boot anyone that comes in that's not the person we're looking for while they keep trying to join rooms. And sometimes
that would hurt my feelings.
It sucks. I mean, it's a bummer. People understand because they've encountered the other side of it too. But if it were a different community of different fans, I don't know how tolerable that sort of like start stop thing would be. People really want to play this game.
Oh, they do. Absolutely. And that's kind of and you're right, because of the UI, you are taking a chance that the first experience for someone new is coming in to try to find a game and immediately getting booted out and not know why.
It's frustrating. I mean, one of the things that is used as a recruiting opportunity for the roleplay group. So if we're in a lobby and someone comes in, we basically explain like, hey, we do matchmaking. That's how we all know each other. We're waiting on a 4th person. If you're looking for groups to play, here's how to do it. Check out the subreddit. Check out the Discord. And that's I think how I've met a few of the people that I still play with regularly outside of the Discord groups.
Now, Wormslayer, I've got a question for you real quick. If I were looking for, someone were looking for a good VR experience for this, I know you mentioned that you have a subreddit for Oculus. Is that kind of like your go-to recommendation?
Yeah, that's definitely my choice. But right now we're in kind of a transitionary period. Oculus have just discontinued the original Oculus Rift headset, and they're going to be imminently releasing a new Rift S. And there's also a new headset from Valve that's due to launch soon, but that's still a bit mysterious. You know how they roll. So yeah,
absolutely, keeping it under wraps.
So yeah, I mean, if you want to buy a Rift now, you're either buying old stock that retailers are trying to get rid of, or you're buying them secondhand. So normally I would recommend it hands down, but right now I'd say maybe wait for a few weeks and see what's announced.
Mm-hmm.
For alternatives, Kokis and I both use PSVR. And
sorry, yeah, I should have mentioned PSVR. I'm not a console guy, so it's not really my area of expertise.
If you own a PlayStation and you want to get into VR, it's almost a no-brainer because you need a powerful machine and an Oculus or a HTC Vive in order to play on the PC. And either of those is like a $400 like investment in order to get just the headset itself. I believe Wormslayer definitely knows better than I do. But the PSVR and the Move controllers, you can pick that up for like in the $200, $250 range if you already own PlayStation 4. Mm-hmm. And it definitely leaves a lot to be desired. The tracking is very good. I've never had any problems with it. It'd probably be smoother and better on one of the higher dollar value VR devices. But it definitely works. You know, I don't get disoriented at all. It just works. The resolution, though, the PS4 is not a powerful machine by today's standards anymore. And so there's a lot of compromises that go into making VR work on that thing at a frame rate that doesn't make you sick, especially in Bridge Crew. But despite all, and like the resolution on the headset isn't that great either. But despite all that, it's still a great experience. Like it definitely captures it. Bridge Crew works very well for it because there's just not a lot of elements that need to be rendered. So what is there, it can take its time and really put up some polish on. I definitely recommend it if you wanted to get a budget solution.
Yeah, I'm looking here. I just kind of started poking around on different prices for the Oculus, and also seeing the HTC Vive. and it looks like, just from a quick look, that you're looking at around $200-300 for something like that on the PC side.
Oh, that has come down. I might jump on that.
Yeah,
there's, as I said, Oculus have just discontinued the original Rift, so there's a lot of people who are now selling them to try and get a few quid to buy the Rift S when it comes out, or the new Valve Index.
I did see that on the Rift.
So there's like a glut of Rifts hitting the market at the moment, so it's not a bad time to buy a second-hand one.
Right. And on my PC, I've got a pretty good gaming PC. It's got a 1080 Ti graphics card.
Oh, that's more than enough.
Yeah. So I don't know. I might have to put this down for a Father's Day gift.
Yeah,
well, but then I'd have to buy the VR of the game, because the one I've got it's non VR, but
wait,
is there a whole separate?
No, it's the same game.
It's just one version of the game.
Correct.
Yeah, it is. You've got the VR version.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I wouldn't have to rebuy the game on PC.
No.
What I've got is good. Okay.
You got it.
The only time you have to pay for it again is if you're doing that on a completely different system. Yeah, platform.
I ended up doing that while it was on sale. I had that copy for the PlayStation VR back from when we got the headset, and then a nice sale rolled around. So I was thinking to myself, hey, I'll get it for PC too. I'm gonna keep that stocked since my girlfriend and I both have gaming PCs. So now we've got the PlayStation and 2 gaming PCs. We could run a pretty decent Bridge Crew game here with people who come over to visit whenever we have friends visiting.
Oh,
Nice.
that would be such a fun party game. Yeah, can you imagine that? Having a room full of 4 actual people there playing Bridge Crew. Now that would be an experience.
That's how I think they demoed it originally. Like, if there's clips on YouTube of them showing the game off at conferences and expos and stuff, and I think that was the setup that was used, and that it looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, see, now you guys are encouraging me to spend this extra money. I'm looking here at this stuff on Amazon, and but I mean that's a great way to experience the game. It was made for VR, like you said. So I don't know. I might have to pull this trigger on this dump of these Oculus Rifts. But then I only have the one game for it, so it's like, you know how it is. Get something for one game and then it sits.
Well, if we get the roleplay server exciting enough, then surely you're going to be playing a lot of it anyways.
Well, yeah, I'm going to be playing. I've played a lot more than I have. It's just $500 for that one, and ouch. Like I said, that's well, any more these days. Usually, what I will do is take Father's Day, birthday, Christmas, wrap them all up together. Like, okay, this is the one thing I want for this calendar year. It's that one high ticket item. So, but it's tricky because you know how it is. You've got a list of things that you want to get, and that it looks cool. Looks like a lot of fun. I'd be afraid I'd walk into something and hit my table or whatever.
They have warning systems. You map out your game space, and it will warn you if you're going to step outside it. And the newer ones, they automatically generate that and give you warnings if you're going to walk into somebody or something.
I will admit, on almost the first time we fired up the PlayStation VR, I was playing Skyrim VR, and my girlfriend was sitting near me on the couch, and I went for a wild sword swing and gave her a black eye.
Yikes.
We blamed Todd Howard. It was fun.
Yeah, YouTube is full of people not realizing that it's not safe to be next to people playing VR.
I thought for sure we were smarter than those people, but then it just happened.
You gave her a black eye. Oh,
that's pretty good. I've smashed a couple of things, but I haven't punched anybody out yet.
Well, okay, so let me ask you this. This happened during a Bridge Crew run, I'm assuming, right? Or was this, I'm sorry, I was kind of looking at these prices now, and I was getting into the weeds there. Yeah, that's how I get when I start shopping. So was that during Bridge Crew that happened?
Oh no, Bridge Crew is a very calm game.
I was going to say,
yeah.
How do you give someone a black eye playing?
This was Skyrim VR, so that was much more active experience.
Okay, yeah, I miss that. I'm trying to imagine what possible scenario could you have been in Bridge Crew where your hand is just flailing enough to be able to hit someone.
Listen. When the captain says punch it.
I literally mean you either punch it or I'm going to punch you.
That's why you need to play Bridge Crew all together in one place, so that you can throw stuff at your teammates when they're doing a bad job.
Right. Yeah, I said fire torpedoes. You ass, what are you doing? And just start throwing things. I think I would be. I'm sure there would be some abusive captains out there. It was like, why aren't we at warp? We are. I swear we are.
Some real Lorcas,
Oh God, yes, yeah. There are probably some Lorcas out there.
Discovery now.
Oh, that's okay. So, wouldn't it be great if they had a DLC that was for Discovery? How do they not have that already? That's what
I've been waiting on it for so long. I was sure that when the series started getting big, we'd get something.
Yeah, it seems like it would be a no-brainer, but apparently, I don't know, nothing's happened.
Maybe, just maybe, if we make enough noise.
Yeah, they're sitting on all kinds of potential.
Are already out there. Star Trek Online has been getting a bunch of stuff for Star Trek Discovery.
They have, because in one of the podcast episodes I did for Star Trek Online, we were talking about the Discovery part, and we had the Cryptic Community Manager was on there with me talking about that.
Hey,
and
which one?
It was on the podcast for United Federation of Reddit. Is Michael? His name's Michael, Cryptic Community Manager, and that was that episode 6 of the. You think I know this right off the top of my head? Let me. But I
gotta catch up on that one.
Yeah, I'm doing so many of these. Like I've just finished post production on the episode I did for a Trek RP, and I'm already at work for this one. It just the time goes by so quickly. For a podcast I only put up once a month, it feels like I spend so much time in it, which is good because then I have more time to go through things, stuff like that. Oh, here it is. Episode 7 was the one I did on Star Trek Online, which was a lot of fun doing that one because from what I heard from him, they're just swimming in content, especially with Discovery. And he said that it's really nice that CBS has been very very cooperative with them in regards to some of the things that they're doing and letting them use, which I think is great. And that's what surprises me is that I would think Bridge Crew, with the kind of setup they have, we should have a Discovery bridge. We should have the Defiant, the Voyager, just all kinds of bridges. And maybe it's a lot harder than we make it sound, but it just seems like, why don't we have more content in this game than we do? What are we missing? Is it just not as popular? Has it not caught on? Is anyone kind of in the know, or in any of the rumblings on the game side as to what's going on there?
I guess for Ubisoft, I mean, I don't have any inside info, but I assume that there's some bean counters there who have done the math, and it's not profitable for them to release a slew of new content because of how much it costs to produce. That's my best guess. But I mean, the game seems to still be steadily picking up new users, so hopefully they haven't abandoned it entirely.
Well, I hope they haven't, because
if you're listening, get it together.
Yes, please, Ubisoft. We need more bridges. We're having a great time. You know what else I would like? This would be on my wish list for Bridge Crew, especially after you did that test with recording a game session. I really wish that there was a spectator mode, because that would be perfect. Like a fifth person that would just be a spectator, because when we were recording our session and we were using this platform called Streamlabs OBS, where we could locally record our game. And my thought was, I'll take the recordings from each of the four of us and just kind of cut it together like it's a little movie. Well, the recordings for only two of us worked. Just some technical difficulties, but that happens. But as I was watching what we had and kind of editing that, I kept saying to myself, it would be great if there was a spectator mode, because then I could just, like how in a first person shooter or whatever, when you're out of the match, you're in spectator, you just click your mouse button and you just cycle through whoever you're spectating. That would be great to be able to do on Bridge Crew, where I can like click this station or click that station and it switches me to watching them. So
yeah, it could have made it much more sort of streamer friendly.
Oh
yes,
yeah,
that's
definitely.
what I'm looking for. More streamer friendly, and that's because right now, I've watched some of the streams, some of the YouTube videos, and it seems like unless you're willing to do what I did, which is try to get everyone recording their perspective angles, you need to have the captain being the one doing it, because that's the only position that has like a good clear view of everything.
I love engineering to death, but sitting way off to the right and not being able to see anything out the front of the view screen is always a bit of a challenge.
Right. Yeah. So that's my wish. More bridges, and to have something that's more streamer friendly with that spectator view. So I know I'm going to be continuing to play the game. I'm looking forward to playing more with you guys, and going to the subreddit r/Bridge Crew, just to see people coming in, and that's great that they're jumping in and wanting to do more of this. Also, big thanks to all of you guys. It's like a party room here. I like sitting around. I could do this all night, talking about video games, playing video games, but there's some of those pain in the butt things, like having to work in the morning and all of that. I mean, I wish I could just sit and play games. If I got paid to do this, that would be great.
I think we can all relate to that sentiment.
Oh, completely agreed. If there was a way to, yeah, absolutely.
We just need to get to that post-scarcity Star Trek future. We're almost there, everyone.
Yes, we gotta. All we have to do, we just have to get through the Bell riots. We have to have World War III. Then we can start getting towards. And we're on track. I mean, we're on track for all of that. So yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. It's not. There's light at the end of the tunnel. We're seeing it. We're gonna get there. We just got to get through a couple. Got to get through a couple.
Pivotal historical events. Yes.
Only 43. Right. Only 43 more first contact days to go.
Oh yeah, that's right. We'll be there. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Oh,
thank you for hosting us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us on.
Well, stay out there. Keep doing what you're doing. I love the role play side. You guys have been a great community. The Reddit side of it is also. I'm glad you're there for helping people with getting the information that they need, and we hope that you subscribe to our Reddit Star Trek community and enjoy this podcast so that you can see all the unique content we have to offer. As Q would say, see you out there.